Alright guys, Acheron should be the next character dropping after Sparkle, so I'm going to go over how you should prepare for her in terms of who would be good to run alongside her and how you may want to build her. Before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel, would seriously appreciate it, and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Okay, at this stage currently nothing is really confirmed regarding Acheron apart from the fact that she will be a lightning nihility unit. Yes, the exact same as Kafka. Now, based on this, it's pretty much confirmed she won't be a dot character like Kafka, since then she would straight up be replacing Kafka, which wouldn't happen since Kafka is essential for dot. So that leaves Acheron being the other type of DPS, being crit based. So I'm gonna plan to prepare for her based off this assumption, and I'm sure you guys would be able to know through other means. So now I'll go over who has potential to be good alongside Acheron. Acheron being a nihility unit would definitely mean she still has debuffs tied in her kit some way. So you would run nihility units alongside her that primarily don't focus around dot, as Acheron wouldn't benefit from them or interact with them. However, one character that still has dot implemented in her kit but would still have great potential with Acheron is Black Swan. As I've advocated, and I'm sure a lot of you play Black Swan in this way, she's really good just as a defense shredder support, similar to Pella. For those of you that may need a reminder, Black Swan's skill has a 100% chance of reducing the defense of the target enemy and adjacent targets by 20.8% for 3 turns. This skill is just that good, it allows Black Swan to pretty much slide into majority of teams. Also, Black Swan's ultimate inflicts Epiphany for 2 turns that will make enemies take 25% more damage within their turn. This being great for Acheron since you can ult during the enemy's turn, which will enable them to take 25% more damage. On top of you being able to defense shred with the skill and enabling Acheron's ultimate to deal more damage, you will be applying Arcana to the enemies deriving from the rest of her kit. As I mentioned, there's a reason why Acheron is a nihility unit, so debuffs being inflicted by Black Swan on enemies will also play a part and I'm sure would benefit Acheron. So Black Swan seems very strong for Acheron. In addition, if you have Black Swan's E1, you would be able to lower the lightning resistance on enemies by 25%, which is quite massive, as Acheron would be dealing a lot more damage. I unfortunately lost the 50-50 for Black Swan's E1 to Bailu, but it means guaranteed Acheron, I guess. Another nihility unit that would be good, which is often compared to Black Swan as they both defense shred, is Pella. Pella since the start of the game has just really been a solid debuffer slash support for many teams. The main aspect you would utilize from Pella's kit would be the ultimate. Alongside dealing ice damage to all enemies, she reduces their defense by 40% for 2 turns. A 40% defense shred on all enemies is insane, which will enable Acheron to potentially hit some crazy numbers. Alongside Pella's busted ultimate, her skill will allow you to remove 1 buff and deal ice damage to her target. This would definitely be useful in certain situations where the boss has quite a few buffs stacked, so you can pick apart their buffs, allowing your DPS to cleave through more easily. Pella's ult has an average cost of 110, but through her talent and eidolons can restore energy quite efficiently. Pella's talent will restore 10 additional energy if the enemy is debuffed after Pella's attack. So if you pop Pella's ult, you gain 10 additional energy right away, which is pretty nice. Also, Pella's E1 will restore 5 energy to Pella when an enemy is defeated. Considering Pella is a 4-star, it will be quite easy to acquire her eidolons, and at this stage in the game, majority of you should have her with some eidolons at least. If you have Pella at E5, it will increase the ultimate level, increasing the defense shred from 40% to 42%, which will allow for a bit more damage. Similar to Black Swan also, Pella being able to debuff from the ultimate will be beneficial to Acheron in some way, considering she is a nihility unit. So being able to defense shred and debuff all enemies with the ult and remove buffs with the skill, Pella will be a solid character for Acheron for sure. The final nihility character I would recommend is Silverwolf. Unlike Black Swan and Pella, Silverwolf has a single target ult, but is still able to defense shred the enemy by 45% for 3 turns, which is a considerable amount. So if you ult the boss, you can ensure Acheron will be dealing the most damage to them for 3 turns, which is quite extensive. Of course, there is the busted skill Silverwolf also has, but will be dependent on the team you are running. There is an 85% chance to add 1 weakness of an on-field character type to the target enemy. So if you have more lightning units on your team, there's more of a chance of applying lightning weakness on an enemy that was not weak to lightning before, which will be beneficial for Acheron. In addition, there is a 100% base chance to further reduce all type res off the enemy by 10% for 2 turns. So just know, if you use Silverwolf's skill on the boss and ult them, Acheron will have some crazy damage potential. In terms of how many units to run alongside Acheron, you would want someone to provide you with crit buffs. So 2 characters that should come to mind would be the most recent character Sparkle and the OG Bronya. Now don't immediately think that you need Sparkle now. If you have Bronya, she's going to be great too. However, Sparkle is going to be able to provide a lot more crit damage through her skill in comparison to Bronya's ultimate. Sparkle's skill increases the crit damage of an ally by 24% of Sparkle's crit damage plus 45%, lasting for 1 turn, and will advance forward the ally by 50%. Bronya's ultimate will increase the attack of all allies by 55% and increase their crit damage equal to 16% of Bronya's crit damage plus 20% for 2 turns. Of course, both Bronya and Sparkle will be able to provide provide a ton of support to Acheron, but I must say Sparkle will be the better option between the two. Purely based on the crit damage buff for Acheron being through Sparkle's skill, which can keep popping off in comparison to Bronya providing it through her ultimate, so it won't be as often. Sparkle is such an insane support. Being able to increase the skill point cap, recovering skill points with her ultimate, her talent allowing up to 48% increased damage and advancing an ally by 50%. The main issue, Acheron is right after Sparkle, so if you don't have enough to guarantee Acheron and possibly her light cone since it may be busted, then you are forced to hold off summoning from Sparkle. However, if you have Bronya, then you should be fine since Bronya is still a very good support, being able to provide a good amount of crit damage to the team. In terms of sustainers, I see Fu Xuan being a great option if you do need to run a sustainer with Acheron. Not only will Fu Xuan be able to solo sustain for the team, which would allow you to hyper carry with Acheron, her skill will also buff the team's crit rate. Fu Xuan's skill activates the Matrix of Prescience for 3 turns. It allows allies to mitigate 65% of damage by distributing it to Fu Xuan, increase their max HP by 6% of Fu Xuan's max HP, and increase their crit rate by 12%. If you also have Fu Xuan at E1, I would then definitely recommend running her with Acheron since she provides a 30% crit damage buff to the team, which would be amazing for Acheron. Acheron's teammates aside now, the most recent relics in the game include one set being crit related and the other being break effect related. Now I've played Hoyoverse games long enough to know one of these are gonna be made for Acheron, and it doesn't look like it'll be the break effect set. The Pioneer Diver of Dead Water set as a 2-piece increases the damage dealt to enemies with debuffs by 12%. While considering Acheron will be a nihility unit also, the 2-piece would be perfect. The 4-piece increases crit rate by 4% and the wearer deals 8 to 12 increased crit damage to enemies with at least 2 to 3 debuffs. After the wearer inflicts a debuff on enemy targets, the aforementioned effects increase by 100% lasting for 1 turn. The fact that this set can enable guaranteed crits, raising your crit rate over 100% and your crit damage possibly exceeding 300% is completely insane. This being achieved from enemies having debuffs inflicted on them, so it just seems like the set will be the best in slot for Acheron. Considering Acheron is a lightning unit, the lightning set would be an alternative for her, but I would highly recommend just farming this new set since the effects are just broken. Worst case scenario, even if the set isn't made for Acheron, you can definitely run this set on another DPS later down the line that will benefit majorly from the huge crit boost. With planar ornaments, still going off the assumption she will be a crit character, any crit based set would be good. Inert Sal Soto would increase the wearer's crit rate by 8%. When the wearer's current crit rate reaches 50% or higher, the wearer's ultimate and follow-up attack damage increase by 15%. You also have Rutilant Arena that increases crit rate by 8%. When the wearer's current crit rate reaches 70% or higher, the wearer's basic attack and skill damage increase by 20%. Tied with the Pioneer Diver of Dead Water set, reaching over 70% crit rate would definitely be achievable for that 1 turn. We should be getting a few new planar ornament sets soon, considering we were given new relic sets. So just like the Pioneer Diver of Dead Water set being potentially the best in slot for Acheron, we could expect the new ornament set to also be the best in slot for Acheron. So I would advise farming for the Diver of Dead Water set for now and wait to see if the new ornament set is going to be tailored for Acheron. Regarding the light cone situation, this is where it becomes a bit problematic. Majority of nihility light cones revolve around Dot. The only force option that has potential for Acheron would be Good Night Sleep Well. For every debuff the target enemy has, the damage dealt by the wearer will range from 12% to 24%, stacking up to 3 times. So if you don't have this light cone with a few super impositions at least, you might be forced into pulling for the signature. This is why I mentioned that you need to at least guarantee Acheron with her light cone before pulling Sparkle. Welt's light cone is somewhat viable also, as it increases the wearer's damage to debuff enemies by 24%. When the wearer uses their skill, the effect hit rate for this attack increases by 18% and attack increases by 24%. So if you don't have either of these 2 light cones, be prepared to maybe pull for Acheron's light cone as you may need it. We still have got a while till Acheron and her confirmed kit actually drops. So this is intended for those who would like to prepare for Acheron based on my calculated assumptions. Acheron does have the same VA as Raiden, so I am expecting Hoyoverse to really bless this character. They already have in terms of the design, so we will just have to wait and see if they can ensure her kit is going to be up to par with her design. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel for more Honkai content and drop a like. Also drop a comment to let me know how deep are you planning to go in for Acheron. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.